What if a single dusty crossroad on a flat Ukrainian plain just completely broke the back of Russia's entire southern army, and the Kremlin didn't realize it until the tanks were already behind them? What if 3 years of brutal fortifications, millions of hidden mines, and thousands of elite troops were utterly dismantled in a single 72-hour window using a secret tactical loophole Moscow swore was impossible? If that sounds like wild exaggeration, stick around. Because the classified data coming out of the Zaporizhzhia front reveals that between May 17th and May 20th, the entire geometry of this war fundamentally shifted, and almost nobody is looking at the real reason why. Before we go further, if you find this kind of deep military analysis valuable, do me a quick favor, hit that like button right now, subscribe if you have not already, and share this video with someone who follows this conflict. It takes you 2 seconds, but it helps this channel more than you know. Now, let us get into it. To truly understand how this disaster unfolded for the Russian High Command, we have to look at this backward. We aren't starting with the frontline assault. We are counting down the strategic dominoes from the very last consequence all the way to the secret, underlying breakthrough that made it all possible. If you want to understand how a modern superpower's army actually collapses, you need to see every single step. Number 8. The death of the land bridge. Let's start with the big picture down south. For 2 years, Moscow's entire strategy rested on one phrase: the land bridge. This is the continuous strip of occupied territory connecting mainland Russia directly to Crimea. It was supposed to be an unbreakable fortress. But look at what just happened. The moment the defenses cracked further north, the shockwaves hit the M14 highway and the critical rail lines running through Melitopol. Russia's military is entirely built around trains. They can't move the massive amounts of heavy artillery ammunition they need using regular trucks alone. By pushing just a few kilometers deep, Ukrainian forces didn't just take ground, they brought the only heavy rail line supplying the entire western flank into direct observed artillery range. If a train can't pass through the Novo-Alexandrivka sector without being spotted by a drone and blasted by precision shells, the land bridge is no longer a bridge. It's a dead end. But how did the rear collapse so quickly? That brings us to the next domino. Number 7. The Kherson Panic and the Chonhar Choke Point. When things go wrong on the front line, the panic travels backward faster than troops can retreat. By May 21st, the situation behind the scenes grew so desperate that Vladimir Saldo, the head of Russia's occupation administration in Kherson, had to take an extreme step. He completely banned all civilian truck traffic on huge stretches of the R-280 highway, specifically between the 463rd and 494th kilometer markers. Think about that for a second. Why shut down commercial shipping on your main supply artery to Crimea? Because the roads are choking. With Ukrainian long-range FPV drones hunting everything that moves near the Jenkoy crossing, Russian military logistics had to completely commandeer civilian infrastructure just to hide their fuel tank. When a military starts shutting down its own public roads to hide its supply lines, it tells you one thing: they have completely lost control of the airspace above their own rear guard is greater than. Let's pause for a second. Ask yourself this: if Russia can't even protect its supply trucks 50 miles behind the front line, how are they supposed to hold the actual trenches? Stick with me, because the secret behind how Ukraine pulled this off gets much crazier. Number 6. The exposure of the Tokmak central nervous system. Now we move closer to the actual fighting. If you look at any military map of southern Ukraine, all roads, all rail lines, and all supply tracks lead to one single place: the city of Tokmak. Tokmak is the beating heart of the Russian southern front. It's where the ammunition dumps are buried, where the fresh troops get assigned to their units, and where wounded soldiers are brought to be saved. For 3 years it was completely safe, tucked away behind miles of defensive lines. Not anymore. The recent breakthrough means Ukrainian forward observers have reached high ground that looks directly down into the Tokmak Valley. They don't even need expensive satellite imagery anymore. They can sit in a dugout with a standard antenna and watch Russian fuel trucks parking in real time. Every single command post in Tokmak is now well within range of conventional tube artillery. You don't waste $1 million HIMARS missile when a standard setup can hit the target in 30 seconds. Tokmak has transformed from a secure logistics hub into a massive flaming trap. Number 5. The sudden evaporation of the elite VDV. This is the part of the story Moscow is desperately trying to hide from its own citizens. To protect this vital sector, the Kremlin didn't just send regular drafted troops. They deployed the 42nd Guards Motorized Rifle Division and elements of the legendary VDV Airborne, the 71st and 291st Motorized Rifle Regiments. These are the highly trained, heavily decorated professionals meant to be the absolute backbone of the Russian army. Yet, between May 17th and May 20th, these elite units didn't just retreat, they completely fragmented. When the pressure hit, communication broke down so fast that officers were ordering retreats while their own men were still firing from neighboring trenches. The VDV was forced to abandon their heavy equipment, leaving behind functional electronic warfare gear and armor just to escape on foot toward the south. When your most disciplined soldiers break formation and scatter, it means the system itself is broken. Numbers mean absolutely nothing if the men holding the rifles don't know who is alive on their left or right. Number 4. The double axis trap at Boyadyria. A lot of casual observers look at a map and think an offensive is just a straight line moving forward. It isn't. If you just push straight, the enemy wraps around your sides and cuts you off. While everyone was watching the main push, Ukraine executed a quiet, simultaneous flanking maneuver to the east, securing the tiny settlement of Boyadyria. It barely made the news, but it was the chess move that secured the entire operation. By taking Boyadyria at the exact same moment the main line advanced, Ukraine built a wide, highly defensible wall on their left flank. This completely blocked the Russian 58th Combined Arms Army from launching a quick counterattack from the side. It turned a risky, narrow penetration into a solid, unmovable wedge driven straight into the Russian position. Number 3. The 118th Brigade's Ghost Tactics. How do you cross an open field when the enemy has thousands of machine guns aimed at you? In 2023, the answer was heavy armor, and it failed miserably. In May 2025, the 118th Mechanized Brigade tried something completely different. They threw out the old Soviet playbook completely. Instead of sending massive, loud columns of tanks rumbling across the dirt, they broke their forces down into tiny, autonomous infantry teams. These groups operated completely under the radar. They didn't wait for orders from a distant headquarters miles away. They made their own decisions on the ground, second by second. Moving through the rubble, using broken tree lines and old crater fields for cover, they slowly infiltrated the edges of the town. The Russian defenders kept looking at the horizon, waiting for the big tank battle they had trained for. Meanwhile, Ukrainian infantry squads were already popping out of the basements right next to them. Number 2. The total blindness of electronic warfare. We are getting down to the absolute core of the mystery now. None of those infantry tactics would have worked if Russia's massive artillery could still see them. So, how did Ukraine blind them? Right before the ground troops stepped off, Ukraine activated a massive, highly coordinated electronic warfare net that completely blanketed the airspace. In a matter of minutes, Russian tactical radio channels went completely silent. Their radar screens turned to static. Imagine being a Russian sergeant in a forward trench. You see movement in the tree line, you pick up your radio to call in an artillery strike, and all you hear is static. You try to call your commander, but the signal is dead. You look up, and your surveillance drones are dropping out of the sky, completely disconnected from their controllers. This is what military experts call operational isolation. You aren't dead yet, but you are completely deaf, blind, and entirely alone in the dark. Number 1. The secrets bought in 2023. We have finally reached the number 1 reason, the ultimate secret behind why the entire Russian line just dissolved in 72 hours. To understand it, we have to look back at the painful failure of the 2023 counteroffensive. Back then, the world watched as Ukraine's elite 47th Mechanized Brigade ran directly into a brick wall of mines and artillery right outside this exact same town. They lost advanced Western hardware, Leopard tanks, and Bradley fighting vehicles were left burning in the fields. The mainstream media called it a total disaster. The experts said Ukraine could never break the southern lines. But here is what the Kremlin completely misunderstood. Ukraine wasn't just losing equipment in those fields. They were buying data with blood. For 2 years, Ukrainian analysts quietly studied every single mistake from that summer. They mapped every single hidden Russian artillery routine. They learned the exact reload times of the batteries, the specific frequencies the Russian jamming units used, and the precise blind spots in their minefield layouts. Every single lost vehicle in 2023 became a classroom asset. When Ukraine returned to Mala Tokmachka in May 2025, they didn't guess where the enemy was. They had a perfect three-dimensional digital map of every single bunker, every single command wire, and every single trap. They turned Russia's arrogance against them. Moscow thought the 2023 lines would hold forever, so they stayed predictable. And in modern warfare, being predictable is a fast track to absolute defeat. The gates to Tokmak aren't just threatened anymore, they have been unlocked. The entire southern front is officially a whole new ballgame. What do you think? Should Ukraine risk it all and push straight into the heart of Tokmak right now? Or should they widen the gap to secure their flanks first? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you made it all the way to the end of this countdown, you're the exact kind of viewer that keeps this channel going. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I'll see you on the next deep dive.